Switzerland, home of the cuckoo clock, the gnomes of Zurich and some of the most picturesque scenery in Europe, is also by tradition neutral territory, perhaps the most fitting venue imaginable for the final rounds in the fight for the most coveted prize in motocross, the 500cc world title. Previous British challengers for the coveted crown have dreaded the last rounds of the 12-event, 24-race championship, traditionally held in the heartland of European motocross, Belgium and Luxembourg. But this time it's different. This time there's no home advantage for anyone. This time the two men involved in this fight to the finish know they're out on their own. As the bells of the evening Angelus call the worshippers to church after a sweltering Saturday, no one could foresee the dramatic change in the weather which would turn the spectacular Wohlen track from Dust Bowl to quagmire overnight. But every aficionado does know what's at stake over the two 40-minute plus 2-lap legs. Two men in with a chance of the championship, and a third rider with the option of giving Honda a unique World Championship 1-2-3. The challenger, Dave Thorpe, the young pretender to the crown, determined to swap his number 3 vest for the world champion's number 1 shirt. And the champion, André Malherbe, 3 times a winner of the title already, but 15 points down in the quest for championship number 4. We spoke to them both before the race, and to the 2 other men who won Grand Prix races this year. So Dave Thorpe, just 2 races away from a possible world championship. How are you feeling?
I feel quite good in myself. The weather's been unkind to us this morning. We've had a lot of rain, but I feel quietly confident. I just want to try and keep out of trouble.
What exactly has the rain done to this Wohlen track?
Well, it's made it very rutty. There are a lot of deep ruts around, but fortunately on the racing lines it's still very dry, so we can still get round okay.
Does that favour one rider over the other?
Well, I guess it would favour the guy who's in the front, because the person behind's either got to follow him or risk going out into the mud.
How do nerves normally affect you on a race day?
Well, normally I just have to sit on my own for 30 minutes before the first race, and then once I go to the line I forget everything and concentrate on the race. It's just inside me. People who know me, they can't tell that I'm very nervous. It's just inside me.
And is today any different?
Not really. I feel quite calm at the moment. No doubt we get a little bit nearer the race, I shall feel the pressure, but hopefully I'll be all right.
This is probably the most important day of your life. Does it feel different to any other?
No, in actual fact it doesn't feel any different at all. I think the thing that does make it difficult for me is if I had to come here and actually had to win the World Championship, it could possibly be easier. But because I know that I haven't got to win and that a 2nd and a 7th or 2 4ths will clinch it, I think that makes it difficult.
Have you got any tactics in mind for the race?
Well, I'm going to go for the first race. I'm going to try and win it, and if it turns out that I can't win it, then I shall settle for 2nd. I don't want to leave it all to the last race and maybe have to beat Andre to win the title in the last race. I want to do my work, so to speak, in the first one and then possibly be able to relax in the 2nd race.
Are there any changes to the machine today?
No, none at all. We had to change our tyres from last night because yesterday was very dry and this morning's very muddy, so we've had to play around with tyres, but other than that everything's normal.
Are you going to do it?
I shall tell you at the end of the day. I shan't believe it until I go over the finish line in the 2nd race, but the way the times were going and the way I feel pretty confident.
Just how much is a World Championship going to mean to you?
As a personal thing, it means everything. It's all I've ever wanted from being a kid. I guess it's like a kid who plays football wanting to get a World Cup medal. It is the ultimate in our sport. But from a financial point of view, it's obviously very good to be a world champion. You've got something to sell to potential sponsors, so all round it's very good.
So, André Malherbe, is it going to be world title number 4 today?
Well, I will tell you this afternoon after the race. It's going to be a long day because it's pretty muddy and it's very difficult to say, but I hope so.
Yesterday was very hot and humid. Today is very wet. Which conditions would you prefer?
Well, I think for me today it's maybe better the rain like this because I like better. I think maybe it make the race different. and so I'm happy it's raining today.
What about this Wohlen track? Do you like it?
Yes, it's a good track. It's one of the best track we ride this year, and I enjoy to ride in this track.
Do you think there's any particular advantage for one of you over the other here?
No, I don't think so. You know, the condition is same for everybody, and the track is the same for everybody, and I think nobody has a special advantage in this track.
This year you've been fighting all year with Dave Thorpe, your teammate. What sort of an opponent has he been?
Well, you know, it was a pretty tough race this year also with David. And I think for the sport it was a pretty good, because the race was very tough, and we have a lot of passing to each other, and it was a good race.
What about team orders in the Honda team?
Well, we haven't any team order because, you know, anyway it's Honda is going to win, so no team order.
Eric Gabors, Honda's third works rider. You've had a few problems here in Switzerland, haven't you?
Well, yes, I broke my leg about 3 weeks ago in Namur, and it's not completely recovered. It's not healed completely, and I do have some pain on my leg. Especially today, it was even worse than yesterday, but I think I can stand the pain for the race.
So you think your leg may still be broken?
For sure, if I have pain, it means it's not healed yet, and we still need some rest, but because we have to continue racing, we cannot afford to stay home and don't do anything, so we race.
So do you think you'll be able to last 2 40-minute races?
If it stays like this, I am pretty sure I can handle the pain, and it's just 2 times 40 minutes, and after that, okay, it's over.
Now, 2 of your teammates are fighting for the World Championship. Has there been any team orders? Will you be helping either one of them?
No, there's only one team order, and that's the same one for all 3 of us. We have to win, that's all. So it doesn't matter who wins. And I am completely neutral. If I can beat both of them, I will. If I can only beat one, I don't care who it is, I will also beat one and stay in between. But I am completely neutral. I'm not giving any advantage to one of them.
Danny Chandler, a few problems here in practice.
Yeah, we had a few, unfortunate accident. A guy went off the track and dragged the ropes out in the racetrack, and I caught the ropes and hit a post and busted my finger.
So you've broken 2 fingers?
No, one finger.
Or just the one?
Yeah.
You've also had rather a drastic haircut in a bet with somebody. Tell us all about that.
Well, Eric Gabors, after Le Mans, I was feeling pretty happy, and we both wanted a haircut, and he bet me $100 if I would get a haircut. And I said, sure, I'll do it. You want to see it, huh?
And Eric Gabors did that?
Yeah, he did it himself.
And did he pay you the $100?
He paid me the $100, but I think he's a little disappointed. I was not to wear a hat here. I was supposed to go with no hat, and I'm wearing a hat. So I think he's a little angry.
But he's already paid up, so...
So I have the money, no problem.
You're the only person other than the Honda riders this year that's won a Grand Prix. What do you think of the different styles of the 2 men at the top of the championship? Dave Thorpe first.
Oh, I think, David's a very aggressive rider, very confident, very smooth. And, he doesn't make too many mistakes.
And Andre?
I feel he's the same. I mean, he's a very aggressive rider. And I think maybe he's had a little more bad luck than good luck. I think David's had an awful lot of good luck, but I think you make your own luck by how you train and how you feel.
In practice, Thorpe showed he's the master of all conditions. Fastest in the dry on Saturday, and again when the conditions changed on Sunday morning. Every picture tells a story. The tension shows in the face of Dave Thorpe as he waits for the start of probably the most important 45 minutes of his life. But for Malherbe, he's as cool as a cucumber. He's been there before, he knows exactly what he has to do. Just one thing. Win the race. That's the only thing that'll keep his chances of the championship alive. Last-minute preparations as the 2 challengers go through the nervous routines they practice before every race. Dave Thorpe goes to the line, his fastest time in practice giving him the pick of positions on the mechanical start gate, followed by Malherbe, 15 points down in this fight for the championship and knowing he's got to win. Just moments to go now before the start. The 40 riders line up on the mechanical start gate. The Swiss starter pulls the lever and off they go. Next to Thorpe, Kurt Nickel, his great mate and rival from the KTM factory. He's been chosen by Thorpe to act as a buffer between him and Malherbe to make sure there's no sort of jiggery-pokery at the start. Nervous moments now as they wait for the starter to turn his board sideways, signalling they're in the last 5 seconds before the start of the race. The full Grand Prix lineup for the final event of the 1985 500cc Championship. The riders hunched over the fronts of their machines to keep them on the ground. The gate goes down and they're away through this sea of mud. And Malherbe, a terrific start from Malherbe, and Thorpe's there as well, but there's a Yamaha rider out in front as we take a look at that start again. Terrific action as they all make a clean getaway, but that's the last time they'll be clean throughout this race. And the whole shot man is the Swede Leif Persson. That's a turn up for the book. Thorpe is in second place, and that's Eric Gabor's third and Malherbe's fourth. First riders safely through, but already covered in mud. And that's the Belgian rider Joe Martins on the Husqvarna as Malherbe crests the rise on the other side of the track. Already covered in dirt, these riders. Throwing their tear-offs away. There, Persson leads, followed by Thorpe. That's just the sort of start Thorpe will have hoped for. Gabor's third, and Malherbe in fourth place. Persson on the Yamaha, followed by Thorpe. There's Gabor's, former World 125 champion, bidding for third place in the championship. He hasn't had the best of years. Malherbe there. He knows exactly what he has to do. That's past this man, the leader, number 57, Leif Persson, and Dave Thorpe, and Eric Gabor's, if he's to stand any chance of keeping his world title hopes alive. The crowd urging on Thorpe and Persson. Persson still keeping the advantage as they go on towards completing their first lap. Gabor's still in third place, ahead of Malherbe. But these leaders now, as they complete lap 1 of 16 laps, have already pulled out quite a gap on Malherbe in fourth position as they plough their way through that sea of slime. That's former World 250 champion Georges Jobet. He's the man that Gabor's has to beat in order to claim that third place. Splattered with mud after only a single lap of this race. That's Bert von Zitzwitz, the German rider on a Mako. Once dominant Mako in World Motocross, now sadly a spent force, as Persson still leads, followed by Thorpe. Gabor's, remember, riding with a broken leg in third place, and Malherbe fourth. As they drop down this muddy valley, turn sharply at the bottom and then power up the hill on the other side. Thorpe not putting a foot wrong so far and receiving a lot of encouragement from a strong British contingent at Wohlen. Gabor's and Malherbe. Malherbe knows he has to pass his teammate. But that's Georges Jobet down in fifth place on the Kawasaki. And that's the unfortunate Swiss rider Christoph Husser, who appears to have lost his chain. Bang goes his chances of a popular local victory. And still he can't get the chain back onto the rear sprocket. All that mud hampering his progress. As Persson still leads the race from Thorpe. Thorpe there will be watching every move, studying his rival so that he can know where to take the lead. As Malherbe still languishes down in fourth place. So it's Persson from Thorpe. And Thorpe will be quite happy with that. Malherbe in fourth place. A fourth place that he knows won't win in the championship. He needs at least third place to stay in the hunt and take it to the final race. Persson still in the lead. Thorpe still second. Gabor's third. the leading pair, and that's how close they are. Gabors third and Malherbe fourth. As Thorpe nudges alongside the leader, is he going to take the lead? Not on this occasion. But that looks like he's just having a go there to see if it's a possible sight for a challenge for the lead when the time comes. Encouragement there for Gabors, still in third place. And Malherbe. A definite disadvantage in these conditions, being behind and having to come through and overtake other riders, because every time you get close to them, you're covered in mud. Your goggles fill in. Unusual in these sort of conditions to see them still wearing their goggles. Normally they're discarded fairly early on in the proceedings. They just have to try and keep them clear the best way they can. They do wear 4 or 5 different cellophane tear-offs, but when things are as bad as this, they normally go fairly quickly. Pearson still leads, and Thorpe dropping back a bit, still in second place, but it's a second place that'll suit his purposes fine. Remember, he doesn't need to win this race in order to win the championship. He'll be happy as long as he can finish in front of Malherbe. That's Keith Thorpe, Dave's dad and mechanic, pacing anxiously up and down. And Malherbe's up into third place. He's taken Gabors, and that puts a pretty different complexion on things. Thorpe needs to win this race, with Malherbe finishing fourth if he's to clinch it now. If Malherbe finishes third and Thorpe wins the race, then there's still a possibility they could tie on points. And if that happens, Malherbe will take the title. Eric Gabors chasing hard in fourth place. He said there's no team orders. He wants the best position he can. As Keith Thorpe gives the signal to Dave, get going. It's time you took the lead in this race. As Thorpe throws his goggles away. He was wearing a face mask attached to those goggles. That means probably that he's gasping for air as the mud covers up the air holes. So Leif Pearson leads, lapping a slower rider there for the first time. Dave Thorpe second, and that's the gap. Dave's really motoring now. He knows second place isn't good enough. He'll be going all out for a win. And there's Malherbe. Malherbe making a determined challenge now. Keith Thorpe keeping his son exactly informed of what the state of play is. And there's Malherbe, very close now. We've definitely got a battle on our hands. So it's Pearson, Thorpe and Malherbe. Dave Thorpe, 22 years old, been riding a motorcycle since he was 3. Fifth place man, Georges Jobet, former World 250 champion. He's currently third in the championship by 1 point from Gabors. Pearson leads, Thorpe second. And Malherbe third. There's the gap, Pearson and Thorpe and Malherbe moving in now to challenge Thorpe for that second place. Malherbe, 29 years old, world champion in 1980, 1981 and again last year. The Union Jack waved as Thorpe's in the lead. Thorpe first on the Honda has overtaken Pearson on the Yamaha, and Malherbe's down in third place. Gabors fourth. Keith Thorpe, that's my boy, that's the way to do it. Now Thorpe only has to stay in that position till the end of the race and the championship's as good as his. It sounds easy, but the pressure's enormous as Thorpe rounds those back markers, followed by Pearson and Malherbe. Jobet on the works Kawasaki in fifth place. He needs to overtake fourth man Gabors in order to claim that third place in the championship and stop Honda getting a unique 1-2-3. Dave Thorpe, Leif Persson and Andre Malherbe. Anything could still happen, still in contention. And that's Gabors, getting it sideways there and out of shape. There must be a terrible strain on that injured leg. Dave Thorpe looking cool and calm. He hasn't put a wheel wrong in this race. Dave Thorpe leaping up under the Camel Bridge with 15 minutes to go in this race. Union Jacks waving. About 100 or so people have made the trip from England to see Dave Thorpe crown himself the world champion. Thorpe leads. Eric Gabors in fourth place. Thorpe rules the world, the banners say. Well, not quite yet. And Malherbe there making a challenge for Persson. Persson holding doggedly on to that second place. He's had a pretty bad season since breaking his leg late last year. And he broke his collarbone earlier on this year. But his form's come good at the end of the year when contract times come around. That's double World 250 champion Georges Jobet fighting for fifth. Cheers from the crowd for Dave Thorpe. There's a backmarker getting in the way, and he won't be too unhappy about that, Thorpe, if he can get a few more backmarkers on his side. So much to the good. He's now pulled out quite a gap on these two tussling for second place. Anxious moments, always in the last stages of a race. Dave Thorpe will be willing that clock to tick round to 40 minutes before the two-lap board goes out. Eric Gabors in fourth. Down into the bomb hole. That's Dave Thorpe. Second man, Leif Persson. Third, Andre Malherbe. Dave Thorpe, 7 wins so far this year under his belt. This looks like victory number 8 out of the 23 races so far in this fight for the World 500cc Championship. Just one breakdown for him this year. It's in the French Grand Prix when the gearbox packed up. But otherwise, this Works Hondas have both been extremely reliable. Malherbe's as much as Thorpe's. Thorpe's machine, fettled by his father, has 1 lap to go. 1 lap remaining. Thorpe will know that Malherbe is in third place. He'll know that means 20 points difference between the two. And he'll know then he just has to score a point in the second leg. So with 1 lap to go, it's Dave Thorpe, Leif Persson, Andre Malherbe and Eric Gabors. Thorpe will be picking his way oh so carefully round this track for the last time, making sure there's no slip-ups at the final stage. Eric Gabors still in fourth spot. He'll be happy with that. That'll enhance his chances greatly of taking third place in the championship. Persson and Malherbe. Malherbe won't be giving up yet. He'll be wanting that second place and the 17 World Championship points that go with it. Points scored in motocross, remember, in each leg. No overall point scoring. As Dave Thorpe comes round for the final time to pass the checkered flag and win his 8th race of the year, and immediately looks over his shoulder to say, where's Malherbe? Eric Gabors is 4th, but this is the man, Dave Thorpe. All eyes will be on in the 2nd race. So the order: Thorpe, Persson, Malherbe, Eric Gabors, Georges Jobet and Andre Vromans. And there's the point situation. 20 points separate Dave Thorpe from Andre Malherbe. We spoke to a very relaxed Dave Thorpe in the gap between the races. So Dave Thorpe, congratulations on a first race victory. That's 1 down and 1 to go.
Yeah, I was very pleased to win the first race. It went according to plan. Now all I need is a 15th place, which will probably be the hardest point I've ever had to get.
You had a few problems with your goggles in the first race. You got rid of them very early on, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I was riding very tense and I wasn't getting enough air, so I decided to throw my goggles off just to get more air and try and calm myself down. And it took me 2 or 3 laps afterwards just to get back in the swing of it, and then I could ride my normal race. So I knew where I could pass Lee if I'd suss it out on the 2nd lap. So it was just a matter of time till I went by him.
So now just half an hour to go before the 2nd race, which, as you say, will be the most important race of your life. How are you feeling?
Well, right now I feel pretty relaxed, but no doubt when I go up to the line I should be pretty tense. But hopefully, fingers crossed, everything should work out.
It's still heavy rain at the moment. Did that cause you any problems in the race?
No, not really. They tell me it rained during our race, but I didn't notice it at all. So hopefully it might stop before the 2nd race and we could possibly have a dry one.
So now one hand on the title. Is it going to be Dave Thorpe world champion in about an hour or so's time?
Well, I'd like to think so, but I don't want to make any predictions until it's all over. But hopefully in 5 o'clock about we should have won it.
Well, Dave Thorpe may not have noticed the rain, but these spectators certainly did as it continued to pour down between the races. In the holding area, every rider has his own umbrella carrier. First race, 2nd place man, Leif Persson. 20-year-old Swede who's finally found his form right at the end of the season. And there's a man with his own umbrella, Eric Gabors, who looks at this stage as if he might have clinched that 3rd place in the championship, because with 6 minutes to go before the riders are due to be in the Parc Fermé, there's no sign of Jobet. However, he turned up at the last minute and was able to take his place on the line. Dave Thorpe taking no chances against the rain. So that's the scene, a sea of slime on this Wohlen circuit. You have to admire these spectators and their dogged support for their sport. Dave Thorpe comes to the line for the last race of the 1985 Grand Prix season. Chooses the same spot he started this first race from. Father Keith comes up to give him a final pat on the back, make sure everything's all right with the bike. And next to him, Kurt Nickel, who had a pretty poor first race after falling in the first corner and having to fight back in order to finish in 7th position behind Andre Vromans, his KTM teammate. Once more, he's the meat in the Honda sandwich. It's Thorpe on the far inside, Nickel, then Malherbe and Gabors. This ultra-muddy track has been bulldozed, or at least the start area has been bulldozed, in order to make it fairer for everybody. But they can't go around the whole track with a grader. Dave Thorpe just checking the state of play on the line. He won't start getting too tensed up until every one of the 40 riders have lined up. Now he tells his umbrella man to go away, just clears his goggles. Notice that this time he's not wearing the face mask that gave him problems in that first race. 30 seconds to go or thereabouts. 40 tense riders waiting for the starter's signal. Over the front of the bikes to keep the front wheel down and the power on. The gate goes down and Thorpe's away, and another good start from him. It's important to stay, but Malherbe's got an even better getaway. Unlike this back marker who's made a terrible start, he was obviously on the second row and he's been filled in already. As we look at that start one more time. As the gate goes down, Thorpe's already moving. Struggling to maintain control, keep it in a straight line, getting his weight as far over the front as he can to prevent that front wheel pouring the air. As someone scores a direct hit on the camera. And it's Malherbe in the lead. Andre Malherbe gone to the front straight away. And Pearson's in second place. Thorpe is third, Jobé fourth. And number 66, that's local rider Ernst Gunziger. Oh, Malherbe in trouble there, struggling to stay in control of the bike as they go round that deeply rutted corner. That's Pearson in second place. Thorpe third, Jobé fourth. Malherbe's already pulled out an advantage over the Swedish rider. Thorpe staying in third place, he'll be quite happy with that. He said between the races he'll be happy to let Malherbe win the race. All he has to do is finish. Just 1 point will give him the championship he wants more than anything else in the world. The problems down there in that corner, some people didn't fare quite so well as Malherbe, and there's three of them tangled there, struggling to get their bikes out of the quagmire. 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're right on the racing line, so they're piling up behind them. The problem, of course, when things are covered in mud is the bike won't often start quickly. And there, through a sea of umbrellas, Andre Malherbe, leading what will probably be his last race as world champion. Malherbe, Pearson in second, Dave Thorpe third, as they complete the first lap. Georges Jobé in fourth place. And the goggles going away already. That's number 20, Peter Meyer from Germany. But he's way down the field, and this man's at the front of it. Andre Malherbe leads, Leif Pearson, Dave Thorpe. Georges Jobé in fourth position. Top motocross riders always say that it's far easier to go out for it right from the start, lead the race and ride as hard as possible all the way through, than it is to sit there knowing you only need a place. Dave Thorpe, I know, certainly shares that view. He'd rather go out in front, but he daren't do it. Number 26, that's Dave Watson, a young British rider, speaks with a wonderful Irish accent. Dave Thorpe still in third place, behind number 57, Leif Pearson. That's Malherbe's father there, giving him the signals. He'll be telling him exactly where Dave Thorpe is, as well as just how far ahead he is of this man, second place man, Leif Pearson. And Thorpe there looks like he hasn't settled for third place. He's going for that second spot of Pearson's. Malherbe now, his thoughts will be more on who's behind him, how far Dave Thorpe has progressed. It'll be difficult to concentrate on winning this race, but win he must. He just has to win the race and hope that some disaster befalls Dave Thorpe if he's to keep his world championship. Thorpe already covered in mud. He'll end this race much dirtier than he ended the first one, which he led so brilliantly. Thorpe coming under pressure now from Georges Jobé. But he won't worry too much about that. He can slip down as far as 15th place and still take the title. Pearson opened up quite a gap now on Thorpe, with Jobé pressing hard. He could still just about take that third place in the championship, depending on what happens to Gabors in this race. Andre Malherbe, one of the toughest competitors in Grand Prix motocross, and perhaps not the sort of man you'd expect to be involved in this rough, tough sport. Tax exile, lives in Monaco. Unlike Dave Thorpe, who lives in Berkshire. That's number 30, that's the Finn Kurt Lundqvist having troubles with his Yamaha. Unlike fellow Scandinavian Leif Persson, in second place ahead of Dave Thorpe. Followed there by Georges Jobet in fourth. Jobet cresting the rise, getting it sideways. And Andre Malherbe leading the race, gets rid of another tear off so that his vision's completely clear as he drops down. Dave Thorpe still in third. Taking it nice and easy. He certainly won't be riding at 110% in this race. Unlike Malherbe, he'll be giving it everything he's got. He simply has to win. Leif Persson, 20-year-old Swede, broke his thigh in 3 places in a crash at the Scheveningen beach race last year. Leads Dave Thorpe. Just look how deep those ruts have become over this track. No question about who he's supporting. Dave Thorpe. Married, his wife Sharon at the track. Nails bitten almost down to the quick by now, I should think. As Malherbe leads. Dave Thorpe, the 2 men in locked in battle for the championship all year. Malherbe bests a back marker, pressing onwards towards the checkered flag. And Dave Thorpe. He doesn't care about a win, he just wants a place. Eric Gabors, down in 10th place at the end of the first lap. He's now up to 5th. Silhouetted against the skyline, Dave Thorpe picking his lines oh so carefully to stay out of trouble as much as possible. He doesn't want anything to go wrong at this stage. Eric Gabors, Reckless Eric they call him because of his all-action style, and you can see why. Never gives up. Lion-hearted little Belgian. Andre Malherbe into the bomb hole and out again. Followed by Pest. And Thorpe, still holding that 3rd spot. Andre Malherbe, a great motocross stylist. Never looks ragged, always in control. And a great ambassador for the sport over the years. Very smooth, does a lot of television work. Always looks the part, gives his sponsors very good value for money. That's not a manoeuvre I'd recommend in front of these guys. Over that blind jump. Eric Gabors. And Georges Jobet. Belgium always been perhaps the strongest of motocrossing nations, and that's reflected in these positions here today. 3 men in the top 5. And that's one of them, the most important one of them, the best one of them. All those 3 men, incidentally, have been world champions. Malherbe in the 500cc class 3 times, Jobet twice 250 champion, and Gabors twice World 125 title holder. This man has yet to be champion. And this man hopes to be champion in just a few minutes' time. That's Kurt Nicholl on the KTM in 4th place, pressing Thorpe hard. He was hoping to improve on his 5th place in the championship, but a disastrous first race fall put paid to that. Gabors closing there on Jobé. That's some of the style that's brought André Malherbe 3 World Championships so far. Always in control, always stylish. Leif Persson in 2nd spot. There's a back marker, and that's Nicholl now up into 3rd place. He's overtaken Thorpe. Thorpe won't mind that one bit. They're great mates, these two. Georges Jobé in 5th. And Eric Gabors in 6th place. Once again, terrific action there from André Malherbe. There's no prizes for high leaping in motocross. In fact, they say the longer you can stay on the ground, the better, because you can't put any power down when you're in the air. A couple of quick dabs to steady himself. Look at that suspension working there. About 10 inches of suspension travel at the back wheel of these Hondas. Leif Persson still 2nd. And that's Kurt Nicholl. Followed by Thorpe. Jobé in 5th place. And Eric Gabors in 6th. And Jobé's got in front of Thorpe. Thorpe loses yet another place. Jobé in 4th place and Thorpe 5th. Gabors there in 6th place. So Jobé, followed by Thorpe and Gabors. Gabors will be going all out to overtake Thorpe in order to clinch that 3rd place in the championship. But there's André Malherbe coming down towards the start and finish area to start his final lap. But as Malherbe starts his last lap, there's drama for Kurt Nicholl, who's dropped back down the order after getting a stone in his face. 2nd place goes to Leif Persson. 3rd is Jobé, and 4th, Eric Gabors. But this is the man that all those fans have come to see, Dave Thorpe, now just 1 lap away from the World Championship he wants so much. There's no more loyal fans than the British motocross for Porter. André Malherbe may win the battle, but he's not going to win this war. The checkered flag's in sight, and Malherbe rounds the final bend for the last race of the 1985 World 500cc Motocross Championship. And the British fans are already celebrating as Leif Persson takes 2nd place, Eric Gabors takes 3rd after disaster strikes Georges Jobé, who got a puncture on the last lap. But this is the man they're waiting to salute, the new 1985 World Motocross Champion, Dave Thorpe, as they close in to congratulate their hero. Dave Thorpe congratulated first by the outgoing champion, André Malherbe. Chaos on the start line as the fans close in to lift the new world champion shoulder high. Those dramatic pictures speak for themselves as the fans salute Dave Thorpe, the first man to bring the title back to Britain since Graham Noyce in 1979, also on a Honda, and one of only 3 British riders to win the coveted crown. So race 2, won by Andre Malherbe from Leif Persson, Eric Geboers, Georges Jobet, Kurt Nickel, and the most important result of all, Dave Thorpe in 6th. Overall, it's Malherbe, Persson, Thorpe, Geboers, Jobet and Nickel. As Thorpe, minus his peak, that's been taken as a souvenir already, tears flooding down his face, he takes his helmet off and fights his way through the crowd. The helmet goes in the air. That'll be a souvenir for somebody. As Thorpe receives the acclaim he so richly deserves. The final World Championship placings. Dave Thorpe, champ, on 388 points, Malherbe 378 and Eric Geboers on 227 in 3rd place. We spoke to the new British hero.
Dave Thorpe, congratulations, world champion at last.
Yes, it was a very difficult race. I think it's probably the slowest race I've ever ridden in my life, but I was just pleased to see the checkered flag.
Did you feel any nerves throughout that race?
No, I was riding fine until the last 15 minutes. All of a sudden I started to listen to every noise of the engine, and, you know, I probably heard more noises in the engine than there was, you know.
And you just let them keep coming past you?
Oh, yeah, I didn't give a damn. As long as I was 15th, that was the most important thing for me.
And you knew exactly where you were?
I couldn't tell you where I finished. I just knew I wasn't out of 15th.
So, what next for Dave Thorpe?
Well, I'm going to take a rest, and then I'm going to get ready for next year. More determined than ever to try and keep it.
Has it been worth all the work?
By far, it's been worth all the work, yeah. I'm really pleased for everybody who's helped me along the way.
And is it good to be a British world champion?
Absolutely fantastic.
It's good to have him as a champion, I tell you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
It's brilliant.
David.
Thanks, Paul.
Well done, Dave.
Thank you, mate.
Dave Thorpe flings his cap into the air. Just look at the smile on that face. A slightly cleaner Thorpe, but a very happy one indeed. An all Honda rostrum there. Dave Thorpe, world champion, delighted to spray this crowd with champagne. On his right, Andre Malherbe, the man he deposed. That champagne won't taste quite so sweet to him. And third man, Eric Geboers, 3rd in the race and in the championship. The proudest moment of Dave Thorpe's life, and an emotional moment too for the second part of that championship winning team, his father Keith, when we spoke to them after the race.
So the Thorpe family champions, world champion Dave Thorpe and mechanic father Keith. How does it feel to be finally there?
Well, like we've worked, well, my dad started me when I was 3, so we've probably worked now 19 years to try and be world champions, and although it probably hasn't sunk in yet for me, it's a really nice feeling.
It's a bit of an emotional moment for you, Keith.
Just a little.
Those last 20 minutes were pretty hectic.
Yeah, if I said my watch was standing still, I would be just about summing it all up.
And Dave, you reckoned you counted every stone on that track, didn't you?
Yeah, it was probably the slowest race of my life. I was just trying to go around all the stones. Every bend I went round, I was listening for the engine and just trying to make sure everything was all right. And then if my bike slided sideways, I thought I had a puncture, you know. I was just like panicking for the whole 15 minutes towards the end.
But in the end, there were no problems at all.
No, thankfully everything worked out to plan, and now we are champions.
Keith, did you ever think all those years ago, 19 years ago, that you'd be standing here today, father of a world champion?
Well, if I said I never hoped for it, it would be untrue. I always worked for this position, and he's done the job well this year, and here we are.
Just what about this man as your mechanic and your dad as well?
Well, you know, like this year, well, not only this year, right from when we first started, like, I owe everything to my dad. Starting me off, teaching me how to ride a bike, and then guiding me all the way through my career. And for us we only had one DNF this year when it wasn't our fault. You know, it's just absolutely fantastic. I think even though he's my dad, I think he's still by far the best mechanic in the Grand Prix. So I've got a great dad and a great mechanic.
So all that work's been worthwhile?
Absolutely.